You may know this one, you may not, so let's go ahead and take a shot at it. This one is the Metamorphosis. So, one morning, Gregor Samsa wakes up and he realizes that something is wrong, and it's not metaphorically. It's not emotionally. It's more physical, and he's turned into a giant insect or a vermin, however you want to look at it. There's no real explanation. There's no warning. There's no reason, and instead of asking why, the author, Franz Kafka, asks a far more disturbing question, and that is what happens when society decides you're no longer useful? So let's get into this one. Before the transformation, the character Gregor is already trapped. He works a miserable job he hates. He supports his parents and his sister financially. He really doesn't have any friends. He has no real dreams of his own, no real freedom. And his entire value comes from what he provides. And when he wakes up as an insect, the horror isn't the body, it's the realization that he can no longer work. And so, the transformation it really isn't the point, because Kafka never really explains why Gregor changes. There's no curse, there's no science experiment, there's no moral lesson that's spelled out, because the transformation isn't the story, it's the reaction. His family's concern quickly turns into discomfort or resentment or shame. They hide him, they're afraid of him, and they begin to see him as a burden. And slowly and painfully, they stop seeing him as human. So Gregor listens from behind his bedroom door as his family discusses what to do with him. They don't ask how he feels, they ask how to deal with him. The room becomes smaller, the food gets worse, and the kindness begins to disappear. And Kafka shows how quickly love becomes conditional when usefulness disappears. It's not cruelty at first, it's inconvenience. And that's what makes this so unsettling. And so, even as a bug, Gregor feels guilty. Guilty for not working, guilty for being a burden, guilty just for existing. And he still thinks like a son and a provider, even as his family stops thinking of him that way. And Kafka is exposing a brutal truth. When identity is built entirely on productivity, losing usefulness feels like losing humanity. Now, Gregor eventually dies alone. There's no dramatic confrontation, there's no redemption, and the most disturbing part, well, his family feels relieved. They go for a walk, they talk about their future, they begin again. And life improves once Gregor's gone. Kafka doesn't make this moment shocking, he makes it disturbingly ordinary. Now, the reason why the metamorphosis still matters, well, this story still hits hard because the fear it taps into really hasn't gone away. The fear of being replaced, becoming irrelevant, losing value, being a burden, being unseen. It's a story about work culture. It's about family expectations, and also about mental illness and alienation. And most of all, it's about what happens when a person becomes invisible. The metamorphosis isn't really about a man turning into a bug. It's about what happens when the world decides that you no longer matter. And Kafka doesn't give us comfort, he gives us recognition. And sometimes being seen, even in our worst moments, is the most human thing of all.